What's going on? Wendell?
One moment, we're going live.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you may now begin.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Finance and Economic Development Committee. It's the first meeting of the year. I am the chairman, Chris Johnson from the 7th District. And now I'd like to give the opportunity for the rest of the committee and also those folks, those council members in attendance to acknowledge their presence. I guess we can start with Vice Chair.
Yes, good evening. I am Council Member Michelle Hurley, and I represent the 4th Councilmatic District.
Okay, let's start with the 3rd District.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm Councilwoman Xanthia Oliver. I'm Councilwoman for the 3rd District.
Okay. Do we have the representative from the 7th District, 8th District?
Yes, hi, I'm Nathan Field. I'm the representative from the 8th District.
Good evening, Councilmember Field, and the at-large members on the committee.
Hey everybody, I'm James Spadola, City Council at Large.
Loretta Walsh, Council at Large.
We have Council President Congo on the line as well.
Yes, Congo, President, thank you.
And I also see, is that Council Member Brigida Fields?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Councilwoman Brigida Fields, 5th District.
Okay, and thank you very much, Councilmember Fields. And as we begin, again, other council members come on the line, Chief, please just to take a break and let me know. Just wanted to, we do have a somewhat lengthy agenda, so I wanted to cut to the chase. The first item on the agenda is Ordinance 21003. This is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bond, Series 2021, in order to provide the funds necessary for capital projects of the city of Wilmington related to the city's 15th and Walnut Street combined sewer overflow separation project. Now, there is a fiscal impact to this ordinance. I believe this is an emergency project. The obligation will not exceed $1.3 million and is for the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund. Is there anyone from the administration that is here to speak today regarding that project?
Good evening, Vince Carocha, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Works, here to speak on the SRF loan.
Okay, all right, good evening, Mr. Carocha. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so this is a SRF loan in the amount of for clean water in the amount of $1,369,500 with a term of 25 years at 2%. This loan is being utilized for a stormwater separation project at 15th and Walnut, which will allow us to take two new developments on each side of Walnut Street that were constructed over the last few years, as well as one additional block on Walnut Street to install separate stormwater infrastructure, get the stormwater flow out of the combined sewer system, then to distribute that stormwater into rock gardens on the site of the old stables at 15th and Walnut Street. It's just a city property that's being redeveloped. Any overflow then from the stormwater BMPs that we are installing would then be transmitted down to the Brandywine. So this essentially is taking stormwater flow out of our combined system.
Okay, Mr. Carocha, why is this an emergency, or why does it have to go through now?
This isn't an emergency. This is just being handled as, this is an SRF, State Revolving Fund for Clean Water. So this is being funded through the state revolving fund program. So the authorization for the project was passed as part of the FY16 capital improvement program. This is just a funding mechanism to do the project at this point.
Okay, now I have a follow-up question in regards to the process for completing the project. So has a contractor been selected yet?
No.
Or will this go out to bid?
This will have to go out. So based on the dollar amount of this project, over $100,000, this needs to go out for a competitive bid, be advertised in the paper of greatest circulation for 2 consecutive weeks, and follow all of the city's procurement procedures. So no, there's so essentially what this ordinance does is allow us to then go to the bond committee and allow them to put the necessary paperwork in place to actually close the loan. So we cannot go out to bid on the project until we have funds to do the project. For SRF related projects, once they go out to bid, we make award within 30 days, or else we have to rebid them. So we can't go to bid until we have funding in place to close the loan, or the funding in place to close the loan and actually have it set up on our general ledger.
Okay, and now will there be efforts to make sure that there's outreach to minority and disadvantaged contractors?
Absolutely.
So that they can participate?
That's part of the program. So all the prime contractors that apply for this or tender a bid have to also comply with our DBE requirements, as well as our responsible contractor legislation, since this is being put out by the Department of Public Works. Those are all part of the bid front end spec.
Just finally, the question I had for this moment is in terms of once this goes to bid, when is the projected, I guess, time period for the project to actually start?
Normally, after we go out to bid, within 2 to 3 months after that, after award is made, they would have a pre-construction meeting and then kick off a construction schedule with the selected contractor.
So I guess that would place us maybe by the summer. I guess late spring or
that's probably accurate.
Summer. Okay.
Yes, if this goes out now, that's probably accurate.
All right. I have no further questions at this time, but I believe some of my other colleagues do. Let me start first with Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Caraccia, I think that's how you pronounce your name. So my question to you is, one, is this one of those type of jobs where there's some very stringent specifications?
There will be a set of specifications and plans that go out as part of the bid package. So it's essentially installing separate stormwater collection and then putting in stormwater BMPs, essentially rock gardens on the property. So the engineer of record, in this case Arcadis, will have a set of bid specifications and design drawings that are issued as part of a contract.
Mhm. And so typically, this work that we're getting done, is this the first time, or is this a routine type of project that gets done?
This is more of a routine type programmatic thing. We've done several stormwater, projects here as it relates to removing the stormwater from our combined sewer as part of our long-term control plan with EPA. This allows us to minimize combined sewer overflows by taking that stormwater load out of the combined sewer.
And the reason why I asked that question is because I wanted to know, do we typically have a vendor that we normally use to do this work?
This would have to go out on competitive bid. So anybody who meets the bid specifications and any bid requirements, again, I've got from our office, our Assistant Water Division Director, Brian Lennon's on the line. If you have some specific project questions as it relates to the design, but again, as I said when I started, this would go out for advertisement and competitive bid. And we would look at all the proposals received, and then the engineers would review all them and provide a recommendation of award, which we would then send to procurement, and then procurement does their piece by making sure there's compliance with responsible contractor and that the DBE requirements are met.
Understood. My last follow-up question, Mr. Chair, just have one more question. My question, and I understand that process. My question was, the supplier or the vendor that normally does this work, I'm just wondering, do you usually use a particular vendor or supplier? I know that you have to put the bid out there, but is there a particular vendor or supplier that has been doing this kind of work thus far? That's what I'm asking.
Not out of the several projects that we've done related to stormwater, separation projects, we've had different bidders on each of the projects. We just finished up one over at Shellcross and Union. Alan Myers was the successful bidder on that. We did one a number of years ago at Kentmere and Union. There was another contractor who was a successful proposer on that. And we did one about 2 years ago that I believe Adel was the successful proposer on. And so we're not getting the same contractors every time. It's whoever's the low bidder.
Awesome. That's what I wanted to know. Are we spreading the love around? So you answered my question. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Council Member Oliver, you're next.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I just wanted to reiterate that I have been in touch with individuals that's on the line with the Public Works for Vincent. This is a routine project that occurs every so often. And I think it's necessary that this goes through to clean up the stormwaters. When it rains and it floods, especially on the east side. And that project is, I spoke to several people in the 3rd District that's down near the 1600 block down in Walnut area. And I was going to talk to Councilwoman Harley, and maybe when this does take place in the spring, we can put out a flyer just letting them know on both sides that the project is taking place. So it's not a last minute. So I plan on trying to stay in front of some of these bills. Like I sat down and spoke to some of the people in Public Works so we can stay on top of this. And I will be, as I spoke to them, they let me know that this will be going out competitive bidding, and minorities will be able to bid on it. So, I'm gonna make sure I stay on top of all of this so we will know what's going on and not at the last minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, this is a follow-up. I like to say I had a chance to walk out there with the commissioner and then some time ago over there where the rocks and some of the other things were. So this is overdue projects. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
That'll be.
Oliver. I believe Councilmember Walsh is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had actually put my hand down, but to verify, this is a whole new project. This is not a maintenance cost, correct?
That's correct. It's
This
cap-
is alleviating the pressure that's being put on the present system. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted to verify. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe Councilmember Spadola is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Caraccia, Councilmember Oliver was elaborating on it a little, but if you could expand on that some. What would happen if council did not pass this resolution? What would the ramifications to the city and to this specific area be?
So this specific project without funding would not be able to go forward. So what that does is there would be no separation. There would be a continual flow of stormwater into the combined sewer, thereby causing wet weather combined sewer overflows into our creeks. It's a capacity issue. So the more stormwater we get out of our combined system, the less sewage we have overflowing during heavy rain events into our waterways.
Okay, and as Councilmember Oliver was saying, but that we have that issue going on throughout the city.
That's correct. We have got about 90% of the city's collection system is combined.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just trying to.
That's sanitary.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members who have not spoken yet have any comments? If not, then I will circle back to Vice Chair Harley. I believe you're next.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So it sounds like it's mitigating the problem. It's mitigating the possible flooding in that area. And so therefore, since Councilmember Oliver and I share that particular area, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor on this ordinance, Mr. Chair.
So noted. All right. There's no other questions by members of council on the first round. I will then circle to members of the public. Are there members of the public that wish to speak regarding this budget ordinance? Okay. Well, it looks like there are. Okay, I see a Miss Tina Betts.
Hi, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention that the impact, in addition to the impact that's already been described very well by Vince and then expounded upon by the questions that came from council members, this also impacts the Urban Artists Exchange project that has been moving forward. We're about 90% done with converting the stables into artist studios. And so in addition to the impact on the surrounding area, there will be positive impact on that 1 acre parcel of land that is an urban green space and community gathering that we've been working on in partnership with the Department of Public Works. And if anybody has not been able to see the difference that the progress that we've made thus far in that area at 16th and Walnut Street, 15th and Walnut Street, I hope you'll take the opportunity to do that. And this project integrated into the Urban Artists Exchange revitalization project is just huge and it's unique. There's no other project, no other partnership that has taken place like this in the city of Wilmington. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Betts. Is there any other questions by members of the public? Okay, seeing none, then I'd like to turn it back to members of council for any final thoughts or comments or questions. All right, and with that, actually, prior to moving forward, I would like to acknowledge, I believe, Councilwoman McCoy from the 6th District is here as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Council Member McCoy. All right, with that, since this is an ordinance, it does need to actually be voted out of committee. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to vote out ordinance 21003 out of the Finance Committee, and it be placed on the regular council agenda. I believe the meeting it'll be placed on is the Thursday, February 18th calendar.
So
Do I have a
moved.
second?
Second.
All members in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye. All right. Any opposed? All right, well, the ayes have it, and this ordinance will be moving to the full council agenda on Thursday, February 18th. Thank you very much. All right, moving along, the next item on agenda is an ordinance 21004. It's an ordinance to authorize and approve an agreement between the city of Wilmington and the Lerro Corporation for on-site engineering services for the WITN station. Just to delve a little bit deeper into it, I believe there is a fiscal impact to this agreement, but this is different than other proposed renovations. That's my understanding of project. Is there anyone from the administration or WITN to speak regarding this item?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, the floor is yours. Yes,
Sure.
yes, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we're just renewing a contract that's already been in existence with Lerro. The previous contract had expired on December 31st, 2020. So this is going to update the agreement to March 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2024. And it's going to be the same contract that we've had with them before for maintenance and engineering services, and it's going to be at the cost of $1,250 per month for a total of $15,000 per year. And it does include within the same contract that we've had previously in regards to monthly on-site visits and for maintenance checkups. But if anyone has any questions, we're here to answer them.
Okay, station manager, I do have I guess the first question that kind of popped out is, I noticed this is a Pennsylvania corporation. It's not a local business. Is there a reason why no local businesses could bid for this contract?
From my understanding, it does go out for bid, and that's who was chosen. But I wasn't in that position when the company was chosen. So I can defer that to Wendell, who was the deputy station manager during the time that the previous contract was signed. Wendell, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So Lerro was chosen because the maintenance that's required for our systems is specialized, and there's not many companies that could do the work that Lerro has done. In addition, with our systems that Lerro did install, they have a intimate knowledge of those systems.
Now, Mr. Ralston or Ms. Tavares, I guess the question is, just going forward, because I understand that there is talk of a total renovation project. for the tonal renovation project, will Lerro be involved or will it be a different company?
That will also be Lerro.
Okay, now, I mean, is it a foregone conclusion, or is it a possibility that maybe some other companies can bid on that project?
For phase 3, there could be a possibility for other companies to bid. Phase 1 and phase 2 has already been paid for when it comes to the Studio B.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
if I can just clarify, please. Also for phase 1 and phase 2, that also did go through a bid process for the renovations of the, for phase 1 and phase 2. So that did go through a bid process as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the clarification. At this time, I have no further questions, but I believe some of my colleagues do. Council Member Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to state, when I was the vice chair of WITN, I have to give credit where credit's due. Lerro Corporation was very efficient, and as Arsenio said, I think the next time she forgot to say who she was, but anyway, I was saying that Lara, they were very cooperative, and the few times that I was down there, they were right there and efficient, and they do a good job. And as Windu said, they just know what they're doing with that equipment. And I think that price was phenomenal for that, all the work they do. So I just wanted to give credit to them because I worked with them before. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Oliver. I believe Councilmember Walsh is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I was also questioning why a project that is this inexpensive had to be done by an outside agency. But I would assume that maybe the budget office or the finance department can answer questions about licensing and everything else better than the employees could right now. It is a little amount of money for a government, and I wondered there seems to be a fair amount of work that could be required from this. And it says about having to visit to check out the equipment that would be under this contract. Who is in charge of making sure that all of these things happen? And when they do come, because they have to come at least once a month to check out to make sure the equipment is up to snuff. It doesn't say like how long, what constitutes one visit? Is it 2 hours, 5 hours, 1 hour? Or how does that work? They have to do one, the city, they have to do one, and they can do up to 3 a month. The city can require that they do 3 a month.
Yes. I'll let Wendell answer in regards to how we've been doing it previously in the 107 session, because they have not come out yet for the 108 session.
Yes, and just to have it on the record, I am Wendell Ralston, Deputy Station Manager at WITN 22. Yes, Councilman or Councilwoman Walsh, a site visit is in any call that we put out to Lerro, and usually they're on site for at least 2 to 3 hours minimum.
Okay.
But they can be on site all day. A standard 8-hour day. It just depends on the issue that arises. But any kind of like standard routine maintenance call, it's only a couple hours.
Sure. I was just surprised at how little the contract was for the amount of work that the city could ask them to do. I was quite surprised by that, quite frankly.
And if there's any additional needs, they could charge extra.
Right. Exactly.
But if I could add,
$15,000 a year.
Correct.
right. I just wanted to add that $15,000 a year has not gone up. And for the record, I'm Yesenia Taveras, acting station manager at WITN 22.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I believe Council Member Field is next.
Yes, I want to sort of follow up on comments from a couple of my fellow council members about the company looks good, I'm sure. Lerro Corporation, I'm sure, is a very qualified company, but they are in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I want to emphasize the importance of, to the maximum degree possible, employing City of Wilmington residents or seeing work done by City of Wilmington residents. And I would like to see more information about the bidding process. How is that possible? To just be educated more about the bids that went out for this particular project and why this company was chosen. I'm just curious to see if there were any Wilmington companies that were considered, or at least Wilmington area companies, because I think that's very important.
So Council Member Field, I believe that would properly, I guess, be addressed by the station manager or the deputy station manager. I don't know. Based on I believe the dialogue today, it seems like this even predates when the station manager was station manager. So I don't know, either Mr. Barris or Mr. Ralston, if you could go back a few years and provide that information after this meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I may, shouldn't we be getting this from the bidding office for the city?
Well, yeah, I think that also, if they have the information, that would assist. So, I believe that information, or if WITN has it, that could be provided at a later date, because it definitely is a valid question that I know has come up. Miss Bass Knight?
Yes, Marshall Bass Knight, Strategy and Policy Director. I just wanted to share that we do have the information regarding bids and whether or not it had even went out to bid. So we can provide all the information to all council from the last several years. We can share that process with you.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Field?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I would like to see, before a final vote, I guess, on the floor of the general meeting, I would like to just get a full sense of, just be educated about the bid process and what companies, be sure there was a full bid process, and then who was involved, and I would just, yeah. So yes, my question is answered.
Councilmember Harley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have the opportunity to meet with WITN 22 before this meeting to better understand the whole contract. And to my understanding, which I thought was key to mention, is that this company is not just doing the technical maintenance, but as it related to Wendell mentioning how this particular company sort of like specializes or could handle what was needed, it's bigger than just the maintenance. It's the renovation of the studio. So I guess my question is, as we know, I think this got started in 2017 with Lerro in terms of them doing the renovations. So if we got started in 2017 with the renovations, I guess my question is this maintenance part of the agreement, is it associated with the renovation piece? So I guess that's a question to Mr. Chair, to maybe Wendell.
Mr. Ralston, do you have an answer on that specific
Uh,
point?
yes, I do, Mr. Chair. So the maintenance portion, or the maintenance contract that we're speaking of today, is separate from the studio renovations. This is in regards to our existing equipment that was installed by Lerro, and this even predates my time with the station. This goes back over several sessions of council, where they have installed numerous pieces of equipment, and um, definitely with this contract, with Lero's intimate knowledge of the equipment that was installed, and it is again specialized equipment where it's going to be hard to find a company that can handle this kind of maintenance in state. Um, so I don't know if that really answered the question, but again, this company has a really good knowledge of our systems.
So yeah, you answered my question. I have just one follow-up, Mr. Chair. So Lerro, they're the ones that's doing the renovations. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and then Lerro is the same company that's handling the maintenance. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay, so I was just saying that that makes sense to me that we're using them to do the maintenance since they're the ones that are actually doing the renovations. And I just thought that it was important to point that out as it relates to the two. One, you know, the same company that's renovating our studio is the same company that's actually doing the maintenance. So, and we actually talked about or established or voted on the agreement to do the renovations in what, 2017?
correct.
Yeah. So there's some association with all of this. That's the point I was trying to make, Mr. Chair.
And I just want to, I see Councilmember McCoy's hand up, but I just want to clarify one point, is that this is a professional service contract, correct? So it does not have to go to bid because it's a specialized contract. Right, Mr. Ralston or Mr. Barris?
It is a professional services contract
Okay.
for
So,
the studio project.
okay. So if there's not a and I guess a step further, if there's not a local vendor that offers a service, then we have to go outside of the jurisdiction.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification. Council Member McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually wanted to ask just one question. Just wanted to make certain, because I'm kind of like, I think I might be just playing catch up. This Lerro, I know that in 2017 we did make certain that funds were set aside for WITN so that they can do this renovation. But as of I think maybe things are just getting started, but there was a long lull in procurement when it came to this whole bidding process. Will we be seeing anything like that moving forward when it comes to Lara because of the fact that they are a specialized company and we understand the reason why we're choosing them? That's basically my question to Mr. Ralston.
Yeah, and to speak to the time frame of when the funds were earmarked for the studio and the actual start of the project. Yeah, there were issues that or concerns that procurement had in the bidding process. That's why we did agree upon doing a professional services contract for this project in order to move it forward. But in regards to the maintenance contract that's being discussed today or being voted on, that we shouldn't run into any issues with that. I don't know if your question is more towards any future projects in regards to the studio.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. And that actually clarifies some things. I'm glad that you've gotten that all straightened out with procurement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Are you serious?
All right, there's no other council members on their first round. I then will turn to members of the public for any comments. All right, seeing none, this time I'd like to turn it back to council members if there's any final closing comments or questions regarding this contract. All right, seeing none, since this is an ordinance, it does need to be formally voted out of committee. So with that, I make a motion to approve ordinance 21004 so that it is placed on the February 18th City Council session agenda.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay. All right. I believe the ayes have it, and this matter will be placed on the February 18th City Council agenda. Thank you very much. And the final ordinance on tonight's agenda is Ordinance 21005. It is an ordinance constituting amendment number 2 to the fiscal year 2021 operating budget. This is the second ordinance that we've made to the budget so far. It increases the Public Works Department Water Sewer Fund materials, supplies, and equipment fiscal year 2021 account group budget appropriation by $2.5 million to pay for increased Class B biosolids disposal costs resulting from damage to the sludge dryer at the City Renewable Energy Biosolids Center. The fiscal impact is $2.5 million in expenditures and will be funded by utilizing the Water Sewer Fund Rate Stabilization Reserve. Is there anyone from the administration here to speak regarding this item?
This is Brett Taylor from the Department of Finance. I believe Vince, I believe Vince can speak to the operational issues on this.
Okay, so let's start, I guess, with the operational part, and then we can jump to the fiscal part.
Okay.
Very good.
Vince Roach, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Public Works. So as the synopsis of the ordinance indicated, there was damage done to the sludge dryer located at the REBF at the wastewater treatment plant. So the dryer was run by the previous contract operator in an interference condition, causing damage to one of the screw augers. That screw auger is now has been repaired 3 times at this point. It's a pressure vessel and it's leaking thermal oil, and we are not able to run it at its full capacity. So upon the takeover of the wastewater treatment plant and REBF facility by OMI effective July 1st, we received an uncontrollable circumstance letter from them because the dryer was not available for their immediate use. What this essentially does is it requires them to dispose and haul away approximately 4.5 times more Class B biosolids. So when they put their proposal together and they put their costs together for the contract, they had assumed that the dryer would be available. Thereby, they would be hauling away considerably less Class B biosolids and more Class A, and that there would be a good deal of this would be able to be used for land applications. So with the dryer being out of service upon the start of their contract, they've now had to go out and negotiate with vendors to haul away the additional Class B biosolids, which they have been doing since July 1st, which has resulted in additional costs to the tune of $300,000 to $400,000 a month based on the amount of biosolids coming through the plant. So the budget amendment would essentially allow us to fund this uncontrollable circumstance through June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. We've also gone ahead and in conjunction with Jacobs OMI, have ordered new screw augers for the dryer. Those are anticipated to be received in June, so we can get the dryer back in service and back to its full capacity.
Okay, so on the, I guess the technical side, I guess my first question, Mr. Carocha, is since it seems like the previous contractor may be somewhat culpable, at fault, is there any conversation with trying to get them to, I guess, compensate the city for the dryer being broken?
That's an active litigation right now. So we are working very closely with outside counsel to arbitrate the damage that was done. The way the contract is written, that would allow us to go after the costs for repair, or in this case, replacement. But it does not allow us to go after any consequential damages. In this case, the increased cost of sludge disposal for this entire fiscal year. But we will be moving forward with litigation for the replacement of the screw augers.
And breaking apart the replacement, do you have an approximate value of that right now, like of the actual piece itself?
Well, these are very large. So these, when I talk about screw augers, these things are about this. There's two of them. They work as a pair to move the sludge, the wet sludge through the dryer to dewater it. So they're the cost of just the screws themselves and manufacturing, rigging, transportation to get them up here is approximately $1.5 million. But because of the difference in cost and the amount of disposal, they will pay for themselves in 1 year.
And just in terms of a timeline, it seems like this is an emergency or rush. What happens if we put off replacing these screw augers?
All right, so if we don't replace them, well, we've already actually ordered them, and we've got capital funding available that we are utilizing for that purchase. If we were to not replace them, we would be seeing $300,000 to $400,000 a month of additional contract costs moving forward each year until either the dryer was fixed or we came up with another process to create Class A biosolids for disposal.
I appreciate the update, Mr. Carocha, and definitely we want to stay updated on the litigation. I know there's only a certain amount you can tell us right now, but it's an unfortunate circumstance. With that, I would like to move to, I guess first off, Mr. Carocha, is there anything else on the technical side?
No, thank you.
Yeah, for us? Okay. Finance Director Taylor, is there any insight, I guess, from the finance perspective that would be helpful to council?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing that this is an unforeseen circumstance, it was not built into the FY21 budget. We do feel that we have sufficient resources to be able to handle this $2.5 million new authorization. Currently, we ended FY 2019 with approximately $25 million in our rate stabilization fund. We anticipate another $5 million to be added once we close the books for FY 20. Those numbers are pretty solid. So we're going to have approximately $30 million available right now for us to be able to take care of this issue. This is exactly the kind of, with our reserves, these are the kinds of circumstances that reserves are for, to be able to handle any unforeseen circumstances and to ensure that we keep our rates. We do not pass this on to the taxpayer in terms of a direct rate increase.
Thank you very much for the insight, Director Taylor. And I guess just a follow-up question. I understand that there is a pursuit in terms of litigation. Obviously, that costs money, right? Is there an estimate right now what the litigation tab may be? Is Is it under $100,000, under $50,000 in terms of pursuing this claim against the past contractor?
All right,
I am
so,
unaware
Vince Ferrucci,
of- Go ahead, Vince.
all right, we are, at this point, we're well under $100,000 in litigation cost. But again, the letters are all being drafted and so forth. Once we proceed, the terms of the previous contract called for arbitration. So once we go to there, I don't know how extensive this will end up being. I see it being somewhat limited scope, specifically around the damage that was done by the contract operator to the screw augers. So I don't even have a good estimate for that cost at this point, but we are working within our existing budget to fund those costs.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else on the finance side, Director Taylor, before I?
No, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Director Taylor. I'd like to start with Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your question was kind of my question, and I still don't get it. That for projects this big, I assume that the people that get the bids on these projects have to carry a whole lot of insurance on them or bonds for doing the work themselves. And how do things like this slip by? That we have to end up doing litigation against them. Because we are charging the taxpayers are paying for all of it, whether or not it's through the bond bill or somewhere else. The bottom line is they're the ones who pay all the money. And this company should be damaged a little bit for messing this up for everybody.
Councilmember Walsh, I would agree. That's why this was a professional service long-term contract, 20 years. That we terminated early. So we've got a new operator over now because have not been happy about the way the facility has being run since it was constructed. So this was just the icing on the cake when they damaged this in around the February-March timeframe in 2020, right before the contract ended. So, or actually, it was a little farther back then. It was in late 2019 when the damage actually occurred, and they had sent the screw augers out to be repaired. Once they got them back and started up operation again, we found that there were thermal oil leaks in one of the screws, which have now been repaired, I guess, for the fourth time. Hence the reason to have to replace the screws. So, I mean, we're doing what we can under the contract that was approved to try to make our ratepayers whole.
Okay, with it, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, may I follow up?
Yes, please.
With the new company that you've assigned to this, did you check their financing a little bit better? As far as insurance and other things that might be needed?
Absolutely. They're a very sound company. That contract was approved by council back in, I believe, February of last year.
Okay.
They're operating the entire plant now. They're very well funded financially. That's why we selected a top tier company, because we have a rather large regional plant, and costs can escalate very quickly if someone does something wrong. In this particular case here, the previous contract operator is a large company, but again, they want to fight us every step of the way, so we have to arbitrate.
And if I may, this is Director Taylor. I sat on the review committee as well as Vince for this particular plant, and Jacobs Engineering is one of the largest in the world, and they have far more sufficient resources than Veolia, which was our previous contractor. So I think we will be in good stead.
It's actually, Brett, for this particular facility, it was Honeywell was the contract operator. This is separate from the wastewater plant.
You're correct. My apologies. Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Aller, you're next.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to reiterate, because I was going to say, I remember when I did speak to someone in Public Works, they said it was Honeywell, and I just, the whole conversation was basically that the material was just old, and the company I guess, try to bully us pretty much. And I'm glad we did go with it for another company and with a much larger company who's going to be able to handle it. So I'm glad the city put their foot down and found someone else. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, council member. And now there's no further comments by members on council. I would like to kick it to members of the public. If there's any members of the public that have any comments or questions. All right, seeing none, I'd like to turn it back to council for a final call. If there's any comments or questions regarding this item. All right. Seeing none, I would like to, since this is an ordinance, it needs to be voted out of committee, to be placed on council agenda. So with that, I would like to make a motion to move ordinance number 21005, move it out of committee to be placed on the council agenda on February 18th.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and this item will be placed on the council agenda on February 18th. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, we've now moved past the ordinance items we had on agenda. So just moving on to more information items, so we can inform the public on what's going on in the city finance-wise and business-wise. So the first is a presentation on the city's parking amnesty program. This is a program, I believe there was a press release either last week or 2 weeks ago about the administration's new program in order to give folks a break during these COVID times and during this pandemic and fiscal crisis. So with that, I'd like to turn it to whichever member of the administration would be speaking about the parking program.
That would be me, Mr. Chair. This is Brett Taylor again.
Okay, all right. Mr. Taylor, the floor.
Thank you. Back in December, we had made some considerations about how to accelerate the collection of parking tickets. We currently have approximately $4.5 million in outstanding parking tickets that are 7 years or between now and 7 years old. City code provides that anything older than 7 years gets dropped or written off. We, in an effort to collect on that $4.5 million, we are trying some different types of programs, and the amnesty, of course, was one of the programs. The amnesty takes into account those tickets between 2019 and 17. So it's 2017, 18, and 19 that would be eligible for all penalties to be waived if violators or customers would come in and pay in full. We extended this through February. We have found that, generally speaking, as you get closer to the deadline, we get more violators paying in the amnesty program. We're trying to get the word out. We are looking at a program to send digital ads out across various zip codes to see whether or not we can entice people to take advantage of the amnesty. The amnesty has been somewhat anemic over the last month or so. We've collected approximately $3,500 in parking tickets as a result. I think we have to spend more time doing more advertising. Of course, we're trying to keep our expenses down so that, at least we can show some net positive results as a result of it. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have with regard to the amnesty, parking, etc. But again, we're trying to make an effort to recoup our revenues for some of the outstanding parking tickets that are out there. and we're trying some innovative programs.
The first question I have is about just history. I recall similar programs in the past. When was the last time the city had an amnesty program, and what were the approximate yields?
This far predates me. I believe that there was an amnesty program just in general back about a decade ago. We have not had an amnesty program for quite some time. Never one for parking issues, I know. But I also know that amnesty programs are often, they yield some revenue coming in. But in terms of expectation, I think that we just have to kind of, moderate our expectations about how much money we're actually going to be able to move in. I think having a more regular dialogue with customers about options for them to call our customer service center, be able to talk to some of our account services agents, and be able to get into payment plans and to be able to work with us on some of their delinquent accounts is a very effective way of going about it. So that's what we're trying to do, is drive people to call 311, have them connect with Conduit, our parking provider, and see if we can make some arrangements to get those parking tickets satisfied.
Okay, and actually you really just already touched on it, but so the third-party manager, I believe they're fairly new, right? They've been around for about a year. It's Conduit. So is Conduit the company that will be doing the negotiation for the tickets?
Actually, Conduit's been around for quite some time. They were brought in, I think it was about 2009, as ACS, or as Xerox. They had changed their name to ACS, and then they were bought by Conduit. They have been a longtime provider for us for our parking tickets. We are currently, I believe, in our third 3-year contract term with them. They know our business very well. They have been the go-to place for managing our parking ticket program. They were the ones, in fact, who had recommended the amnesty program so that we could get started with. We've also adopted a collections component with Conduit. They are working with a third-party agency, and we're actually going to be taking the parking tickets from 2014 through 16 and putting them into a collection process so that we can find those individuals who have outstanding parking tickets from that far back.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Taylor. Now I'm going to move it to my colleagues. I believe we have Council Member Spadola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Question for you about parking in general during the pandemic and a lot of people working from home. What are you doing in terms of, I've had some constituents reach out. The 2100 block of Baynard Boulevard comes to mind, where there's been some confusion about what's in a business district and a residence district, and who's getting ticketed. With residents ended up getting ticketed and very aggravated. And can you speak to that? And also, how are we enforcing parking while trying to be while being cognizant that we are in a time where cities need to be mindful of not angering our residents when people are working from home. Cities are suffering across the nation. So could you touch on that, please?
Sure. When COVID-19 hit, what we did is we suspended parking tickets that were not related to safety issues, such as fire hydrants, loading zones, driveways, anything that would be considered either would prohibit ingress and egress or has some safety issues. With that, we also suspended penalties and interest accumulating on those parking tickets that were still outstanding. We suspended most of the, at that time, we suspended it across the city. Back, I believe it was around October or so, we opened up the parking ticket issuance to the downtown business district and the riverfront. We continued to suspend our parking enforcement in the residential neighborhoods. Now, the situation on Banner Boulevard, I became aware of that when I started receiving similar types of inquiries. One of the things about Banner Boulevard is if you park on Banner Boulevard, it is a two lanes in both directions. There is no, if it's got a residential, it's time limited, and therefore we were concerned about clogging up the lane during a period in the afternoons when people are coming in, normally when people are coming in and out of the city. Several of those vehicles were parked on Banner Boulevard and not around the corner. The question there is, the ones that I became aware of, I believe we did take care of them, gave an explanation and the like. If you have specific residents who are still questioning that ticket, please feel free to reach out to me. Give me their names, the ticket numbers, and we'd be happy to explore as to why they had gotten the ticket. But in general, we have suspended and not reinstated residential parking enforcement. That's, the question of when that's going to be back online is a question of, we're seeing how COVID-19 is progressing, the vaccinations are progressing, and whether or not people are going to be returning to work. Once people return to work, we're going to probably have to begin our enforcement program in order to keep roads, ingress and egress on roads open, and to ensure that commercial venues have sufficient parking out front.
Thank you.
All right, Council Member Harley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So to Director Taylor, did I hear you say one of the challenges is trying to market this whole project or initiative?
Yes.
Yes. So I was just curious to know, did y'all think about something outside of the box, like inserting a communication in with the water bill? Because it will be a cost savings because
sure,
the envelope is already going out, the bill is already going out. It's just a matter of just, inserting the communication that you would like them to know about the amnesty program.
Yeah. Actually, that is on the radar. The issue is then, as a cost saving measure, we reduced the newsletter, the Water Gazette, from monthly to quarterly, and we're coming up on a quarterly issuance of the Water Gazette. I will tell you that we are thinking outside of the box because we are contracting with a digital ad company that will allow for PSAs to be sent out, much like how you see shoe ads, right? You go out the Kohl's, you buy shoes, and then all of a sudden you get bombarded with shoe ads for 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's sentiment advertising. Those kinds of advertising techniques work really well with PSAs. So what we're trying to do is get some PSAs out to drive it to people within certain zip codes. We'll begin to see where these ads coming up. So we're kind of driving the amnesty program. That is going to happen this week. We're hoping that we get that launched. And for the next 3 weeks, we really kind of make a push for it.
Okay.
Now, we can always extend the amnesty another month if we have to, just to make sure that we give people sufficient time to understand it and take part in it. Amnesties are kind of like sales. You have to stop them in order for people to appreciate them.
Mhm.
So, maybe another month to see how it goes. But after that, we'll probably go back into, a non-amnesty protocol.
Oh, okay. I think that was a great ideal and a great incentive too, to get those that have those outstanding tickets. Incentives are always good. So that was a great ideal. And unfortunately, a lot of times when these great incentives are offered, they don't always get filtered down to the right people. So
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much, council member. All right, at this time, there's no other first round comments by members of the committee. I'm going to kick it to members of the public. If there's any comments or questions. All right, seeing none, I will then turn back to the committee members if there's any final questions on parking. All right, well, with that being said, thank you very much, Director Taylor. We'll be looking for updates, obviously, monthly if possible, or even, between the meetings, just so we can stay abreast, so we can inform our constituents about parking changes, because I understand it's a fluid situation because of the times we're all living in. So, we appreciate the work of you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, without further ado, we're moving to the last but not least. The item on our agenda is Economic Development Office. I believe we have Miss Director Jeff Lynn, and I believe his deputy, Sean Park, I believe is there. Gentlemen, if you could introduce yourself and just give us, an overview. I believe you have a PowerPoint as well.
We do, yes.
So I don't know if that's getting set up now. WITN, do you have that ramped up?
And there it is.
Okay, excellent. All right, the floor is yours, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, Madam Vice Chair, President Congo, and council members. I'm Jeff Flynn, and I'm joined by my colleague, Sean Park. We were asked to provide an overview of business development tasks from our office. And before I do that, let me just say it's very nice to be with you this evening. For those of you I have not yet met, I'm very much looking forward to working with you and improving your districts. So let's get started. We just used a map of the city to highlight some of the business development accomplishments over the past few months. In no particular order, I'll start with two blue-collar employers that were recently announced: Eastern Highway Specialists and Advantage Building Supply Corporation. Eastern Highway Specialists is an existing Wilmington business that is building a headquarters location in the northeast section of the city off of Downing Drive. And they're going to grow by 10 to 20 jobs. Advantage Building Corporation is a new company, new to the state of Delaware. They are a combination of construction, supply, imagine a lumber yard with drywall, so they'll have a retail operation, but they'll also have a manufacturing wing that produces pre-hung doors for the construction industry. And they're located in the old rubber and hose factory on 12th Street. and they'll be generating up to 100 new jobs. We also have Light Action. Their new project is called the Pine Box. Light Action is an existing Delaware company. They're currently located outside of the city. They're moving their existing operation into a new facility on the 7th Street Peninsula. They're building a new warehouse plus a sound stage, and they'll be bringing 75 to 100 jobs into the city on the 7th Street Peninsula. Not too far away from Light Action on the 7th Street Peninsula is the Challenge Program Furniture Corporation. Many of you are familiar with the social enterprise called the Challenge Program. A few years ago, they started a new wing of their business called the Challenge Program Furniture. And they build furniture for restaurants and office clients in the Philadelphia and Wilmington area. They're building a new 10,000 square foot warehouse on the 7th Street Peninsula, and that'll generate 10 additional jobs. Let me move over to a new restaurant called Jerry Dean's, located at 7th and Church Street. Miss Charlie Bass, a resident, a Wilmingtonian, and East Side resident, is opening a new restaurant called Jerry Dean's, and that's about 3 to 5 new full and part-time jobs. Next, we'll move to Farmers of Salem. This is a New Jersey company that is new to the city and to the state of Delaware. They're coming with about 50 new jobs. And they're an insurance company, Farmers of Salem. They're currently located in Salem, New Jersey. Barclays, as you know, Barclays is a long-time member of our corporate community. They're adding 300 new jobs to their riverfront location. Goldman Sachs, many of you saw the announcement a few months ago. They're opening a consumer finance operation, also in an office building on the riverfront, and 50 jobs to start, possibly more jobs growing in the future. And lastly, we have the Warner. This is a minority-owned construction project at Orange and 10th Streets. You can see if you drive by that location today, they're renovating the outside of the building. It has a new restaurant on the ground floor that's been open for about a year, and they're now renovating the upper floors into new residential apartment units. Lastly, I want to mention a project it's not on the map, so thank you for forwarding the slide, but the city, in conjunction with the state of Delaware, is recently bid on a project. We're calling it Project Falcon. This is a competitive bid for a business that is looking for a headquarters location in southern Pennsylvania or northern Delaware. And the city submitted a response to the request for proposal in conjunction with the state of Delaware. And that could potentially be up to 200 jobs. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and keep you apprised of how that goes. We expect an announcement to be made in the early summer. Next, we wanted to present some of our small business highlights. Over the past 12 months, we've assisted small businesses to the tune of $316,000. Thank you to City Council. In last year's budget, you approved an additional or authorized an additional $1 $1.25 million to the city strategic fund. $250,000 of that is reserved for small minority businesses. In fact, the whole $1.25 million is available to small businesses. It's just that $250,000 is earmarked specifically for minority businesses and can't be used on any other businesses. We also highlighted $157,000 through the corridor revitalization funding, which was awarded to minority businesses here in the city. That $157,000 was not general fund money. That was money that came from JP Morgan Chase and was administered through a program managed by Van Hampton and True Access Capital. But our office helped compete for and highlight companies and get companies prepared to take advantage of that funding. And we were pleased to see that a lot of it was awarded to and deployed here in the city. Another couple of highlights, we track all of the small minority businesses that we assist in a database, and we have 85 different instances of businesses, minority businesses that we assisted in some way. And then lastly, as a result of the civil unrest that occurred in June of this past summer, the Wilmington UDAG Corporation initiated about $65,000 of funding across 10 to 15 businesses that were damaged along Market Street and 9th Street. This was not city general fund money. These were dollars from the Wilmington UDAG Corporation. Next slide, please. The chair asked us to just give an overview of COVID-19 related business programs. You can see here, you've got bullet points representing a handful of programs that these are not city general fund dollars, although our office did contribute a very modest amount to the Wilmington Strong Fund. All of these products here are delivered by partners or our state office, our state division of small business. Some of this funding came from the Federal CARES Act. Other funding came from banks or corporations as contributions. Our division of small business at the state of Delaware had some residual funding left over that it used for the HELP program. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, but we did just want to give you a sense that there are products and services available out there, and dozens and dozens of Wilmington businesses took advantage of either one or several of these programs to help bolster them through the pandemic. And you can see we've got a hot link on here to some resources that you can go to and get in more detail the terms and conditions for any of these products. Next slide, please. Sure. This slide is meant to list our partner organizations. Real quickly, the first line is WEDCO. So WEDCO stands for the Wilmington Economic Development Corporation. The second line is True Access Capital. Now, True Access Capital used to be called First State Community Loan. But both WEDCO and True Access, they're what we call Community Development Financial Institutions, or CDIFs. Think of Community Development Financial Institutions as nonprofit banks. And WEDCO and True Access Capital have been around for 25 years plus. And what they do is they take in contributions from banks in Delaware, and the bank provides funding. Thank you, WITN. Wedco and True Access receive funding from local banks and from the SBA, the Federal Small Business Administration, and they're tasked with deploying those dollars to small businesses through loans, and we work very closely with them. They are sort of like our own loan underwriting and servicing branches for our office, and we've worked with them since I started my career here in the city, and they deploy loans and underwriting services and small business development support services to all of our small businesses. The third line is the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Center for the state of Delaware. They're located at the University of Delaware, but they also have a branch here in downtown Wilmington. They provide basically free consultants to small businesses here in the city that help that small business put together a business plan or look at their financials and troubleshoot why a business may be having problems, or helping a business figure out how to grow to the next level. Next, we've listed the Small Business Administration. They're a federal agency, also with an office here in Wilmington. They sort of sit behind all of these other partner agencies and help help the federal small business policies trickle down to the states and the cities. Next, we have the National Development Corporation. They are a partner of our office. They provide economic development classes to our office, as well as other organizations around the city. Westside Grows, any economic development professional who wants to get certified in the field can take a class at the NDC. In fact, all of myself and all of my staff members take these classes online to help polish up their professional skills. And then the last two lines, the Delaware Prosperity Partnership and the Delaware Division of Small Business. These are two very important entities. Obviously, the DPP, the Prosperity Partnership, is now the State Economic Development Office, if you will. We work very closely with Kurt and his team on identifying ways to better position the city to businesses, to responding to RFPs for business development competitions. And then the Delaware Division of Small Business, Amy DiStefano and his team, again, we work with them to help the provision of state resources to our small businesses. So we just wanted to take a minute, since we had everybody together, to talk about our partners. We wouldn't be able to do what we're able to do with such a small staff without these entities. Next slide, please. All right, we have just 2 slides left. They're real quick. This is a slide really for your edification. The Delaware Data Innovation Lab was launched about a month or 2 ago. Many of you will recall that the CARES Act funding donated about $2 million to start the Delaware Data Innovation Lab. Why we are highlighting this to you is because it's an example of really a vision that one individual who owns a company here in the city of Wilmington called Compass Red, Pat Callahan, and many other data specialists throughout the state for years have wanted to start a data innovation lab. They did so with the CARES Act. And that innovation lab located here in the city, they're working on several data sets revolving around COVID-19, and we're thrilled to have them here in the city because they bring in fellows from inside and outside of the state to work on data analytics problems And then that provides employment opportunities or advanced workforce opportunities to our hospitals, our employers who need data specialists. So it's a great entity to have here in the city, and we're very pleased to let you know about them. And then the last slide, I'll let Sean tell you about the soft launch of our new City of Wilmington Economic Development website.
Thank you, Director Flynn. My name is Sean Park. I'm a project manager here at the Office of Economic Development. We've been working on this website for a few months now. The URL is choosewilmingtonde.org, modeled after DPP's Choose Delaware website. And this website is meant to serve as a resource to speak to the work that our office does, as well as highlight the incentives that are offered locally and across the state. And then it speaks to the advantages of Wilmington as a city, its workforce, its industries, and it's meant to be a resource for residents, businesses, and investors inside and outside the city. So we invite you all to check out the website.
Hey, Mr. Chair, that concludes our brief presentation. We're happy to take any questions.
Okay. I guess first off, I appreciate you and your team taking time. And I know it's a very just again very busy time trying to respond to the business needs in our city. And I guess I just wanted to have just a question about the small businesses that they're looking to tap funds, especially like Wetco. Are they able to through your office get connected with Wetco? Like if they don't know who to talk to there, are you able to assist getting them in the application phase?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chair. If I may, I'll give you a sort of a quick overview of how we triage, for lack of a better word, small businesses that come to our office. So small businesses sort of get to our office in a number of different ways. For instance, sometimes they come in through city council members. City council members will bring a small business to our attention. Other times they call our office. Other times Wedco or True Access bring them to us. But regardless of how they come into our office, if it's a business, if it's an entrepreneur that has an idea but doesn't have a plan or funding, then we send them, in one direction. If it's a business that has a plan but hasn't started yet because it needs capital, we send them into a different direction. If it's an existing business that's having problems or wants to grow, we send them into a third direction. And so we're able to sort of provide a contacts at any of those partner organizations, depending on the status of the business and what their needs are.
All right, thank you very much, Director Flynn. I had one follow-up because I know you touched on a lot of subjects, overview subjects, which was great. But specifically, looking at COVID, looking at obviously folks working from home. We've heard a debate on council as well about employers, I guess, not having employees stay here or leaving. What efforts have you and administration done to secure employers and make sure that they continue to invest in Wilmington, especially even post-COVID?
Sure. So the mayor I have been having conversations with different industry groups. The mayor has been reaching out to some of our large-scale major employers. I'm staying in touch with some of our large employers, our medium-sized employers, and our small businesses. Our law firms, we've been in touch with law firms, and it's sort of a conversation we're having. We're very eager to hear from our businesses, sort of what their thoughts are on the future of an office presence versus working from home. We're hearing from some of our small businesses about where they think they're headed. It's a dynamic situation right now, and each industry has sort of different thoughts about where they may head. To mind, we haven't heard of any big decisions made yet, but certainly we're having those discussions. And there's a lot, obviously, of chatter, and there's been a lot written about the subject of what the office looks like in the future. So it's going to be dynamic, and it's our hope that that people want to continue to use the office, but just in a different format. We think that the offices in the future are going to be less dense. I mean, so as many of you know, the trend in the past 10 years was to densify offices, and in our Wilmington offices, the density went from, say, 1 worker for every 250 square feet all the way down to 1 worker per 100 feet. This was a cost savings measure that many large corporations were pursuing in the past 10 years. Well, hopefully we think that's going to change. But we also know that we also understand that workforces are going to be more flexible in allowing people to choose when they come. We've also heard that there's now concerns about the productivity of people working from home, and that employers want to see their teams working together. So we know it's going to be different, and we're just going to continue to put the city's best foot forward, and we're confident that our corporate citizens are going to continue to see the benefits of being downtown, that our legal community will see the benefits from being downtown, and it's just going to look different.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Flynn. Please definitely keep us updated on that front. And I would like to pass it on to my colleagues. I believe Councilmember Walsh had her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff, I wonder if you could update us about the CARES Act and the Payroll Protection Program. Does that money come to your department, or who is the one who takes care of that for the small business owners of our state and our city especially?
Sure. So the PPP is administered by the Treasury Office at the federal level.
Okay.
And technical, yeah. So, thankfully, dollars don't pass through, any state or municipal offices. Technical assistance is provided on a number of different fronts. For example, Sean can answer basic questions about the PPP, but we'll generally, refer those questions to folks who are more expert. I'll tell you what we've noticed, Councilmember Walsh, our local accountants seem to be have the expertise in the PPP, which is great because they're the ones who have to deal with it and help their clients here within the city of Wilmington put forth the application. And so that's how the PPP is administered.
Do we have any numbers? Many of our business owners throughout the city have applied for this money and have been either turned down or have gotten it, because it's a pretty darn good program.
It is. So have we been tracking that, Sean?
Yeah, the SBA puts out numbers on a state level, the Delaware SBA office. We have not gotten a breakdown of that by just the Wilmington city, but we can follow up for that information.
Okay, I would appreciate it because there was a portion or a time where these loans were given to people not in a great way, like very rich people who were getting these loans, you know, rich people that owned like 45 small businesses, and they were getting the loans. But I understand that they've now had to release a public list of everybody that gets a loan too, and what the loan was for, since they are forgiving a lot of them also. So yeah, if you could get information on that, I think it would be good for us to track that.
Yes, we can do that. And, you know, we were a little more active at the start of the pandemic. We were much more active in the PPP area because everything was so new, and we were trying to figure out whether our office at the municipal level would have a place in that.
Sure.
And there were, as we all read about, a lot of challenges with the initial PPP. This latest iteration of it has had all the improvements made to it, and it's much more accessible to some of the smaller businesses, and it's I think it's supposed to be more equitable and address some of the issues that occurred back in April. But let us talk to our friends at the Wilmington SBA office, and we'll see if we can't get a list segmented by Wilmington zip code.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Director Flynn. I'd like now to pass it to Councilwoman Harley. Are you still on?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had to transition from one place to another. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we
hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So first of all, I really appreciate the questions that Councilmember Walsh just asked, because I think that's going to be very good information. I know I'm in conversation, of course, with a lot of small business owners, brown and Black business owners that have had many challenges as it related to the PPE funds. And I heard recently that there's another iteration of funds being dispersed. So hopefully some of those kinks have been worked out, where some of the smaller businesses that really needed the money versus some of these larger companies that receive the money, that these smaller businesses, number one, will receive the money. But my question is, one, you shared on a slide early on of the dollars that were used to support minority businesses, and I seen the dollar amounts, but I would like to get a copy of those businesses that those funds were distributed to, because I think it's an opportunity to highlight and to underscore how the city has been involved in supporting minority businesses. I mean, it sounds good saying, you know, X amount of dollars was given, but when you can connect the businesses with the dollars, I think it definitely is more impactful. So if you could just share that data with me, if you could email me that would be great.
We can. We have it here, and we'll be happy to share that with you. We just ask that you use your discretion in how you distribute the information.
Oh, sure. I understand that. I mean, it's not to be, you know, it's for my own information. When talking, I can basically speak a little more assertively in terms of what I know versus what I think. That's also, it's for my own information.
We'll be happy to put it together and send it to you.
Okay, and my last question is, has a decision been made as to what is going to be on 8th and Market, where the old Rite Aid used to be?
Oh, yeah, thank you. The decision that is made, well, let me back up for those of you who are unfamiliar. with Councilmember Harley's question. It refers to the former Rite Aid building located at 8th and Market. The Wilmington UDAG Corporation purchased that vacant building last year and recently finished some facade improvements on the front to make it look attractive and more fitting for our Market Street corridor. And we addressed some issues on the inside of the building. And council member, we're basically preparing that for an RFP. The Wilmington UDAG Corporation will put out a request for proposals in the next week or two, and then we'll look at responders and make a decision. The types of responses, they'll be weighted on the possible purchasers' financial capabilities, their ability to execute $3 million plus construction project of a historic building, and their proposed uses for the space. So the UDAG Corporation isn't going to decide what goes in the building. We're going to decide who stewards the building into the future.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's a pretty good update. And I appreciate all the information. And unfortunately, I have to disconnect from the call. So again, thanks for everything. And I'm going to drop off at this point.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Harley. You may be excused at this time. We appreciate you coming to the meeting. And actually let the record reflect, I believe we've been joined by Council Member Dixon. And
okay.
She is, I believe, next up. Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a quick question, Director Flynn, regarding, and congratulations on all the new opportunities and jobs that are coming to Wilmington. It was really great to hear. I was just wondering what are the timelines for those job opportunities that are coming to the city? And then also, is there any percentage-wise of Wilmington individuals that have to be chosen as a result of some of those jobs that are coming into the city?
The timeline for each of those businesses is it's diverse. Some of them are involving construction of the buildings. So actually, we have a couple options here. We can bring the map back up, and I can go through them, or I could send you an email with a better timeline. But the range is probably 3 months to a year.
Okay, great. And then
and I can go through each one of those in an email and give you my best guess.
That will be great. And then if also, Director Flynn, also if there are a percentage-wise or a number of jobs that each one of them are offering to Wilmingtonians, that would be good to know too.
Sure. None of these businesses are mandated.
Okay.
To hire. I mean, so this, in other words, it's different than say a city spend. These are all private endeavors that, so there's no, for example, requirement that we put in to a development agreement, for example. But we already know many of them, at least 2 of them already hire locally. And the reality is a lot of these businesses are here because of the workforce. So say Barclay Card, Farmers of Salem, Goldman Sachs, they chose Wilmington because their studies show that the types of people they want to hire are here. Now, are they going to hire, X number of people from Wilmington and Y number of people from the county? We can't control that. But what we do is help these companies reach out to local job and workforce development partners and identify pools of Wilmingtonians looking for work. I mean, the Department of Labor is a perfect example. They do a wonderful job at understanding what each of these companies needs and trying to fill open positions with folks that are looking for work. But there's other organizations too, as you know. So thank you for your question, and I'll follow up with an email.
Thank you. And I just, because I think it would be good, because even on the timeline, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if there's a timeline, just that we can, just so that we can know when we can start advertising, for example, for the folks who, you know, when those job opportunities do become available, that we can help with getting the word out about those also.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, Councilmember Dixon. That's a great point. I mean, one thing that does come to mind is we will be reaching out to some of these firms to do job fairs. For some of the other employers on that map, they've already done them, and their personnel departments do them without any, you know, input from us. But one or two or three of them, we will approach them and try and organize a job fair. And then we'll come back to City Council and ask your help to disseminate the information.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Director Flynn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Director Flynn, I do have one final question, actually, on my part that a few colleagues have reminded me of and was spoken about last week. Do we have any updates on the Save a Lot? I believe it's on Lancaster Avenue. Is OED involved in that, I guess, closure at all?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The matter was brought to our attention by the City Chief of Staff, as well as the Council Chief of Staff, Mr. Walker. It was brought to our attention last week. I know many of you had contacted the administration as well as council staff, and actually, as of the end of last week, I had not heard this yet. So I am grateful to those of you who brought it to our attention. The update I have is as follows. I reached out to the building owner on Friday, heard back today that they had not yet received formal word from the corporation about the closure. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. It just means that the landlord has not heard yet. We have a commitment from the landlord to stay in touch with our office, and I've committed to Mr. Walker to then do the same. I will share with you that a quick Google search indicates that Save a Lot at a national level has had to make some difficult decisions based on their financials, their finances. And so I don't think this closure is unique to Wilmington. In fact, Dover and Milford had Save a Lot closures recently. So, you know, we're just going to wait to see when this announcement is formally made. And then, of course, to the extent we can, our office will work to recruit a new user. You know, it just depends on the market, but we'll be involved with the landlord, and we'll certainly always open to the district representation and anyone from City Council as potential users. So that's our update for now.
Okay, thank you very much. And you know, I know it's concerning to concern many of my colleagues, but I'm glad your team is on top of it. Thank you. Actually, at this time, I would like to kick it to see if there's members of the public who would wish to comment or have questions for OED. Seeing none, I would like to kick it back to fellow council members. Any last questions? All right, seeing none, it is almost 7 o'clock, so I appreciate everyone hanging tough. Director Flynn, we would definitely we'll have you back again near your team, and we look forward to it. Of course, a free flowing dialogue as we stay abreast on the latest going on with COVID, and we appreciate the work your team is doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and at this time, we have completed the agenda for the Finance and Economic Development Committee tonight. We appreciate folks at home who are tuning in and are watching this on recording. We will be doing this monthly. Typically, it will be the first Monday of the calendar month, but it was shifted due to some scheduling flip-flopping. But we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you in March. Without further ado, at this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all right. And second?
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, all right, well, that concludes the Finance Committee meeting. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.